The galaxy had always been full of life, a vast place with strange creatures and powerful civilizations. Different species ruled over planets and star systems, each more advanced than the last. Most of the races believed they were untouchable. They had weapons that could destroy entire fleets, and their technologies were far beyond what any single planet could even dream of. In the midst of all this power was Earth, a small blue planet in a quiet corner of the galaxy. Earth's people were not known for their spacefaring abilities. For centuries they had been a peaceful race, only recently able to travel beyond their own world. The galaxy had heard of Earth's people, but they weren't taken seriously. Humans were thought of as weak and primitive, nothing to fear. For decades, alien diplomats ignored Earth's calls to join the Galactic Council. What could they possibly offer, they would ask. Humans had no great fleet or advanced weaponry. To contribute, they were just another species in a galaxy of many. But something was changing on Earth. A new ship had been built, unlike anything anyone had ever seen. No one knew much about it, only that the humans had spent years working on it in secret. Some of the most powerful alien races in the galaxy had noticed it, but they still didn't take it seriously. After all, Earth had always been small. How could such a tiny planet produce something that could rival the powerful ships of the galactic empires? The ship, however, was not just any ship. It was the Titan's Wrath, a colossal battleship built with Earth's best technology. It had been designed for one purpose: to protect Earth and its people at all costs. The ship had no equal in the galaxy. Yet it wasn't even fully known until it appeared. The Titan's Wrath emerged from Earth's atmosphere one calm morning. It was massive, so large that its silhouette blotted out the stars behind it. The ship moved silently through space. But the message was clear. Earth was ready to show the galaxy that it had power, and that power would not go unnoticed. Word of the appearance of the Titan's Wrath quickly spread across the galaxy. Most of the galaxy's powerful factions laughed. They mocked the idea that such a ship could be a real threat. To them, Earth's ship was just another show of weakness. What could it do? How could it possibly challenge the mighty warships of the established empires? The Galactic Council didn't know how to react. They'd always believed that humans were harmless. Had no great fleets, no great military history to speak of. Earth had been largely ignored. It's a peaceful world with no ambitions beyond its borders. But the Council could not ignore the Titan's Wrath for long. It entered a neutral star system, where tensions were rising between two warring alien factions. The Titan's Wrath did not engage in combat immediately. It simply positioned itself between the two fleets and waited. The two alien factions, the Rithians and the Calthor, were locked in a bitter war over control of this star system. Their fleets were large, but they had never faced anything like the Titan's Wrath. For days, the two sides watched as the ship loomed above them, silent and unmoving. The commanders of both factions sent messages to the ship, demanding that it leave, but there was no reply. The Rithians, eager to assert their power, made the first move. They fired a warning shot at the Titan's Wrath, hoping it would back down. But it didn't. Instead, the Titan's Wrath turned its weapons on the Rithian fleet. In seconds, the enemy ships were reduced to rubble. The Titan's Wrath fired once more, this time at the Calthor ships. The destruction was quick, and the Calthor fleet didn't stand a chance. The neutral system was now a graveyard, and both fleets were decimated, and the Titan's Wrath was the only ship left standing. It didn't even seem to take a hit. This was the moment when the galaxy began to feel fear. The alien factions that had once mocked humanity were silent. No one could believe what had just happened. The Titan's Wrath had single-handedly wiped out to fleets without losing a single ship. And no one had seen it coming. The Galactic Council quickly convened. The once dismissed humans were now a real threat. No one could understand how such a small species could produce something so powerful. They had underestimated Earth, and now they feared it. At that moment, the galaxy learned a painful truth. The humans were not as weak as they had thought. The Titan's Wrath was a symbol of Earth's new power. The galaxy was left wondering just how far this new threat would go. After the Titan's wrath had destroyed the fleets of the Rythians and Calthor, the galaxy was left in a state of shock. No one could quite believe what they had witnessed. It was clear that Earth's battleship was something unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. But what was it doing here? Why had it shown up now? And what did it want? Back on Earth, the people were still coming to grips with the reality of their new role in the galaxy. Captain Elias Johnson stood in front of a large window on the Titan's wrath, gazing out at the stars. He had never imagined that his mission would lead him to this point, but now that it had, he knew he had to stay focused. The Titan's wrath was the result of years of work by Earth's brightest minds. But the ship wasn't just about technology, it was about humanity's will to protect itself. Elias had been a soldier. Long before he had become the captain of Earth's most powerful ship, he knew what it meant to fight for something bigger than himself. But this was different. His mission had been simple at first, ensure Earth's safety. But now, it was clear that humanity's presence in the galaxy could no longer be ignored, and that scared a lot of people. The galaxy was watching, waiting for what Earth would do next, after the destruction of the two fleets. Many factions were unsure whether to try and defeat the Titan's wrath or to align with it. No one knew who to trust, and the galaxy's leaders began sending messages to Earth's government. The communications were clear. They wanted answers. The first of these messages came from the Galactic Council. Their leader, an alien named Vril, had tried to ignore Earth for years. Now faced with the overwhelming power of the Titan's wrath, he had no choice but to communicate with the humans. In his message, he demanded that Earth explain itself. "What is your purpose here, human?" Vril's voice echoed through the vastness of space. "Why have you come to our galaxy? And what do you intend to do with that ship?" Captain Elias Johnson stood before the communications panel in the Titan's Wrath's command room. The message from Vril was clear, but Elias had no intention of backing down. He knew how this would look to the galaxy, and he had to speak carefully. He activated the communication link, and his calm voice filled the room. "We've come to show you what humanity is capable of. Earth is a peaceful world. But that doesn't mean we are helpless," Elias said. "The Titan's wrath is a warning. We will protect our planet, and we will protect ourselves." The message was simple, but it carried weight. The Titan's wrath wasn't just a military vessel, it was a statement. Elias wasn't just speaking for himself, he was speaking for every human on Earth. The galaxy was about to learn what it meant to face a species that had been underestimated for far too long, but the message from Earth wasn't met with acceptance. The Galactic Council had long been a place of power, and they didn't take kindly to being threatened. Vril's response was swift, his voice cold and filled with contempt. "You are nothing but a small, insignificant species, and you will not dictate terms to us. If you think your ship will change the balance of power, you are gravely mistaken." Despite the anger in Vril's voice, the fear was clear. Titan's wrath had shattered everything the galaxy believed about Earth, and now it seemed as though every faction in the galaxy had something to say about it. Factions that had once ignored humanity began to take action. Some, like the Horthons, a race of fierce warriors, sought to challenge Earth's new position. They dispatched their own fleet, hoping to prove that the Titan's wrath was not invincible. But the Horthons were making a mistake. They didn't understand that Earth wasn't interested in starting a war. But they would finish one if it came to that. When the Horthon fleet arrived in the neutral system, where the Titan's wrath had made its mark, they found themselves facing the full might of the human ship. The battle began with the same eerie silence that had preceded the destruction of the Rythian and Calthor fleets. The Titan's wrath was alone. And yet it was enough to make an entire fleet hesitate. The Horthons fired their first shot, but it missed by a wide margin. They'd expected a weak opponent, but the Titan's wrath moved with precision and speed that defied its size. Captain Elias Johnson commanded the ship to return fire. The Titan's wrath unleashed its full weaponry, and in seconds, Horthon ships were torn apart by the sheer force of the blast. The Horthons, realizing their mistake, attempted to retreat. But it was too late. The Titan's wrath pursued them, capturing or destroying every ship in the fleet. Within hours, the Hawthorne threat was neutralized. The message was clear. Earth was not afraid to defend itself. Across the galaxy, word spread. Fast. The Titan's wrath was not just a ship, it was a force. And humanity was no longer the small, weak species they had once been. They had entered the galactic stage. They weren't going anywhere. Captain Elias Johnson looked out the window again, watching as the stars passed by. The galaxy had just begun to understand fear, and Earth had shown them that they could not be ignored. The Titan's wrath had proven its power time and again. Earth's enemies, who had once dismissed the humans as nothing more than a minor threat, now found themselves scrambling to understand what had just happened. The Titan's wrath was unstoppable, and the galaxy could not ignore it any longer. After the destruction of the Hawthorne fleet, a new wave of panic spread across the stars. News of the Titan's wrath spread faster than anyone could have predicted. The mighty galactic powers that had long ruled the galaxy with fear and strength were now worried. They had underestimated humanity, and now they had to deal with the consequences. On Earth, people watched in awe as their ship's power was witnessed across the galaxy. But there was no celebration. There was no joy in victory. Instead, there was an overwhelming sense of responsibility. Captain Elias Johnson and his crew were now symbols of something much bigger than themselves. Earth's new place in the galaxy. The question now was, what would humanity do with this power? Meanwhile, the Galactic Council, which had been divided over how to handle Earth, now faced a difficult decision. They could no longer dismiss the humans. But how would they respond to this new power? The alien factions that once ruled over vast regions of space were beginning to realize that they were not as untouchable as they had believed. An emergency meeting of the Galactic Council was called. The members of the council, a mix of alien species from across the galaxy, gathered to discuss the human threat. Among them was Vril, the leader of the council, who had been the first to dismiss Earth's potential. He now found himself on the defensive. "We cannot allow this to continue," Vril said, his voice filled with both anger and fear. "We must find a way to stop them before they grow even stronger." One of the other council members, a reptilian, alien named Zorak, spoke up. "We've made a mistake underestimating Earth, but we can't take action against them until we know more about their ship. We need more information. We need to understand what we're up against." Vril nodded, but his face was grim. "We'll send a fleet to Earth. They'll know that we're not afraid of them." Across the galaxy, alien warships were preparing for a mission. The Galactic Council had decided that it was time to show Earth that it was not welcome. A fleet of 5 powerful ships, each one capable of destroying entire worlds, was dispatched to Earth's home system. These ships would make Earth understand that no one was safe from the Council's wrath. The Titans' wrath waited in orbit above Earth, its massive guns silent. Elias stood at the command center of the ship, looking at the data streaming across his screen. He knew the fleet was coming. He knew the galaxy was now watching him. "Captain, we've received the Council's message," one of the officers said, looking up from her console. "They're sending a fleet of 5 ships. They're heading straight for us." Elias didn't flinch. The Titan's wrath was designed for moments like this. It was built to withstand everything the galaxy could throw at it. The only thing he needed to do now was decide how to respond. "Send a message," Elias ordered. "Tell them we're not interested in a fight, but we will defend ourselves if they force us into one." The officer nodded and quickly sent the message. The fleet from the Galactic Council continued its journey toward Earth, ignoring the human ship's warning. As the fleet approached, Elias studied their movements. He could see the size and power of the ships, each one as formidable as anything Earth had ever faced. But they were still no match for the Titan's wrath. The enemy fleet arrived in Earth's orbit, surrounding the Titan's wrath. The human ship didn't move, standing still against the imposing alien forces. Captain Elias Johnson was calm, but there was tension in the air. The galaxy's strongest forces were here, and they wanted a fight. The message was clear. Earth was no longer the weak species they had once been. The alien fleet leader, a tall, imposing figure, spoke over the communications channel. "Human Captain, you have made a grave mistake by challenging us. We gave you a chance to stand down, but now we will destroy your ship." Laius' voice came through the comms, firm and unwavering. "You don't understand. We don't want a war. But if you attack, we will defend ourselves, and you will not win." The alien leader laughed, but it was a nervous laugh. "We'll see about that, human." The battle began with a sudden burst of fire from the alien ships. The Titan's wrath responded in kind, launching its own barrage of weapons. The two sides collided in a storm of energy and explosions. But no matter how much damage the alien fleet caused, the Titan's wrath seemed to be impervious. Its shields absorbed the blasts, and its weapons tore through the alien ships one by one. Within minutes, the first alien ship was destroyed. The others followed quickly, their shields no match for the sheer power of the Titan's wrath. The enemy fleet scattered, but there was nowhere to run. One by one, the ships fell. Within an hour, the fleet was nothing more than a collection of debris. Captain Elias Johnson watched the destruction unfold, his face emotionless. He had warned them. He had given them a chance to retreat. But now, the message was clear to the galaxy. Earth was not to be taken lightly. As the last of the enemy fleet was destroyed, Elias spoke again, his voice calm but firm. "This is the last time we will warn you. Earth will not be bullied." The galaxy had learned its lesson. The fear that had once spread among the stars was now a permanent part of every conversation. Earth's Titan's wrath was not just a ship, it was a symbol of what humanity could do when pushed to the edge. The galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again. The galaxy had never seen anything like the destruction that the Titan's wrath had unleashed. News of the ship's power spread to every corner of space. No longer could Earth be dismissed as weak or insignificant. The Titan's wrath had proved its strength, and now the galaxy was left wondering how far it would go. While some factions, like the Rhythions and Calthor, had already learned to fear Earth's battleship, other powerful empires were still unsure. They saw the Titan's wrath as a threat that needed to be eliminated. A small group of galactic leaders, those who ruled the most powerful fleets, met in secret to discuss what to do about Earth. They knew they couldn't ignore the ship any longer, these leaders. The heads of the Teldari Empire, the Arkan Coalition, and the Zorath Collective had long ruled the galaxy with an iron fist. They were used to getting their way, and they didn't like being challenged. Now, Earth's unexpected strength was a problem they could not ignore. "We cannot let this human ship go unchallenged," Viril, the leader of the Galactic Council, said during the meeting. "The Titan's wrath has proven itself dangerous, but we must deal with it before it gets any worse." The room was filled with nods of agreement. The Teldari, known for their incredible warships, were the first to speak. "We will assemble a fleet. Our ships are stronger than anything Earth has ever faced. The Titan's wrath will not stand a chance." The Archon Coalition, a powerful group of trade and military leaders, were also ready for action. "We will join you," said General Valen, their leader. "Humanity's rise cannot be allowed. We must show them that their power is nothing compared to the might of the galactic empires." The Zorath Collective, a group of highly intelligent beings, added their voices to the conversation. "We will bring our technological superiority to bear," said Zoran, their spokesperson. "This human ship has no chance against us. Together, we will crush Earth's challenge." The decision was made. The three factions would send their combined fleets to Earth, determined to destroy the Titan's wrath and restore their control over the galaxy. They believed that by crushing humanity's newfound power, they would send a message to every other race that no one was beyond their reach. The massive fleet, consisting of dozens of the most advanced warships in the galaxy, set course for Earth. Their destination was clear. They would engage the Titan's wrath in a final battle. No one would leave the fight alive, back on Earth. Captain Elias Johnson stood on the bridge of the Titan's wrath, staring at the stars. He knew that the fleets were coming. He knew that the galaxy's most powerful empires had united to destroy them. But he was not afraid. He had seen what the Titan's wrath could do, and he knew that the ship was more than ready for the fight. "Captain, the fleet is approaching," said Lieutenant Parker, glancing at the radar. "We've confirmed that the Teldari, Arkan, and Zorath fleets are all heading toward Earth. Elias nodded, his expression calm. We're ready. All hands, prepare for battle. The crew went to work, their movements efficient and practiced. The Titan's Wrath was a well-oiled machine, and it was about to show the galaxy just what Earth was capable of. Elias knew that this battle would not be easy. But he also knew that humanity had one thing the alien factions didn't: a fierce desire to protect their home. As the enemy fleet arrived in Earth's orbit, Titan's Wrath stood firm, waiting for the first move. The alien ships surrounded the human battleship, their weapons trained on the Titan's Wrath. The air was thick with tension as the two sides prepared for the inevitable clash. Vril's voice came over the comms, cold and commanding. This is your last chance, human. Surrender now, and we will spare you. Continue to resist, and we will destroy your ship and your people. Elias responded, his voice steady. We won't surrender. Earth will not be intimidated. We will defend our home. The battle began with a roar as the alien fleets fired their first shots. The Titan's Wrath responded in kind, its weapons lighting up the darkness of space. Explosions rocked the battlefield as both sides exchanged fire, but the human ship held strong. The enemy fleets launched attack after attack, but the Titan's Wrath absorbed the damage with ease, its advanced shields holding up under the pressure. The Teldari, known for their incredible firepower, were the first to lose a ship. Their warship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. Torn apart by the power of the Titan's Wrath, the Arkan and Zorath fleets retaliated. But their attacks only seemed to make the Titan's Wrath stronger. As the battle raged on, it became clear that the alien fleets were losing. One by one, their ships were destroyed, torn apart by the power of humanity's battleship. The Teldari's flagship, the Arkan Dreadnought, and the Zorath warlord ship all fell under the unrelenting assault of the Titan's Wrath. The once mighty fleets were reduced to nothing more than debris. Elias watched the destruction from the bridge of the Titan's Wrath, his face hard with determination. He knew that this was the moment. The galaxy was watching, and Earth had shown that it would not back down. When the last alien ship was destroyed, the galaxy knew the truth. Earth had not only survived, had conquered. The once weak humans had turned the tide of the galaxy's power, and the rest of the galaxy would never forget it. The battle was over. The combined fleets of the Teldari Arkan and Zorath had been completely destroyed. Earth's battleship, the Titan's Wrath, had stood strong, unyielding against the might of the galaxy's most powerful empires. Captain Elias Johnson watched from the bridge as the last remnants of the enemy ships floated in space, their once proud vessels now reduced to pieces of debris. Across the galaxy, news of the Titan's Wrath's victory spread quickly. It wasn't just another battle won. It was a turning point. For the first time in history, a small, seemingly insignificant species had defeated the might of the galaxy's most powerful forces. Humanity had shown that they were no longer the weak, peaceful species they had once been. Earth had entered a new era. Captain Elias Johnson knew that the battle had only been one part of the equation. The real challenge would be what came next. The galaxy had seen Earth's power, but how would it respond? Some factions would want to ally with humanity, while others would seek to destroy it. But no matter what, the Titan's Wrath had shown that Earth would not be intimidated. The galaxy had learned what it meant to face a species that had been underestimated for far too long. Back on Earth, the people were still coming to terms with the enormity of what had happened. The victory of the Titan's Wrath was not just a triumph of technology.
Oh, yes.
It was a triumph of humanity's determination and will to protect its home. News outlets broadcasted images of the battleship's destruction, and Earth's leaders held press conferences to explain the victory to the public. The people were proud, but they also knew that this was just the beginning. Humanity had proven itself. But there was still much to be done. Earth had shown its power, but it was still a small planet in a vast galaxy. There were many species who would seek to take advantage of humanity's newfound strength. Captain Elias Johnson knew that Earth had to be prepared for whatever came. Next, the Galactic Council, now fully aware of Earth's power, convened to discuss their next steps. For the first time, Earth's representatives were invited to join the council. The invitation was both a sign of respect and fear. The council knew that they could no longer ignore Earth, but would humanity accept their invitation? And if they did, what would it mean for the future of the galaxy? Vril, the leader of the Galactic Council, addressed the assembly. We must acknowledge the strength of humanity. The Titan's wrath has proven itself beyond any doubt. We cannot ignore Earth any longer. We also cannot allow this power to threaten the stability of the galaxy. A member of the council, a wise and ancient alien from the Voran species, spoke up. The human ship has shown that Earth is no longer a small, weak world, but we must tread carefully. We cannot afford to antagonize humanity, nor can we let them control the fate of the galaxy. Vril nodded. We must offer humanity a seat. At the table, we must welcome them into the council, but we must also keep our eyes on them. The galaxy's balance has been disturbed, and we need to ensure that Earth's rise does not lead to chaos. Back on Earth, President Lara Wallace addressed the people. Today, humanity stands on the edge of a new era. We have proven to the galaxy that we are not to be underestimated, but we must also be cautious. Our strength has given us a voice, but it is up to us to use it wisely. We must show the galaxy that we are not here to dominate. We are here to protect, to build, and die. To be a part of something greater than ourselves. The people of Earth cheered. They had done the impossible. They had defeated the galaxy's mightiest fleets, and now they stood on the verge of a new chapter in their history. But President Wallace knew that the real work was just beginning. The galaxy was a complex place, full of strange and powerful species. Earth had proven itself, but it would have to navigate this new landscape carefully. Captain Elias Johnson, standing on the bridge of the Titan's wrath, stared out into the stars. The ship had brought Earth to this point, but it was humanity's, the future that now mattered most. The Titan's wrath was not just a weapon, it was a symbol of what humanity could accomplish when united, when determined to protect their home. As Elias watched the stars, he realized that the galaxy had changed forever. Earth was no longer a small, insignificant planet. It was a force to be reckoned with, but with that power came great responsibility. The galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again, and neither would Earth look at the galaxy the same way. The Titan's wrath had shown the galaxy what humanity was capable. Now, it was up to humanity to decide how they would use that power. Would they become the protectors of the galaxy, or would they seek to dominate it? The choices they made in the coming years would shape the future of the galaxy and the future of Earth. Elias knew that whatever happened, Earth had earned its place in the stars. The galaxy had learned to fear Earth, but now it was time to show them what humanity could do with its newfound strength. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: Earth was no longer just a small blue planet. It was a power in the galaxy.